Hey everybody, Big Anklevich here. I'm a podcaster and author and a toy enthusiast, and today I'm back for some of that sweet Pinterest action. That's right, today I am talking about repainting my 12-inch Titan Heroes Age of Ultron Hulkbuster here on Big Anklevich on Toys. If you haven't seen my video about my first toy repaint ever, I suggest you check it out. There's a link for it appearing above my head right now. That was the video in which I experimented with all the things that I'd seen on various online tutorials for the first time. Now that I feel pretty confident about it, I'm going to try to make my Age of Ultron Titan Heroes Hulkbuster look as good as it should. So this is the before picture. As is often the case with Titan Heroes stuff, the sculpt is really nice. It has tons of detail, but the paint is so utterly lacking that it's laughable. So the first step was priming the whole thing. I used the same primer that I used last time with my Iron Man. It's this Rust-Oleum flat gray primer. It has this yellow banner on it that says it bonds to plastic. I picked it up at the local Walmart. I made sure to find one that said it adhered well to plastic. I'm definitely not an expert though, so I can't say this is the best possible pick. I've heard that different plastics respond differently to different paints and the like. Definitely research more people's processes before you pull the trigger on your own project. That seems wise, or at the very least, get some cheap toys that you can practice on. In case you screw up, your heart won't be broken because you ruined something that you can't acquire another one of. So I primed my Hulkbuster up. I actually remembered to take some video this time around. Keep the can back about a foot or more and spray it as evenly and as lightly as you can. You don't want the paint to build up and drip. As I said last time, there's just something super cool about the grayscale figure. I don't know why, but I really love the look of it. Can't leave it that way though. There's a lot more to do. Now it's time to put the base red coat down. I used this Krylon Gloss Cherry Red. It was the best match to Iron Man's red that they had at Walmart. Again, be very careful while painting to keep the paint very light. Don't get too close and don't spray in any one area for too much time. If you do, then you run the risk of getting spots that look like this. The paint really pooled up here on this spot on his foot. I tried to clean it off and minimize the damage, only to make it a little worse. I managed to scrape away the excess paint as well as the primer from beneath it too. So I reprimed the spot and repainted it. Then there were the spots that I couldn't hit with the first coat. These Titan Hero figures don't come apart that easily, so you've got to do a few coats to get the spots that only appear when the joints are bent. The final product looked pretty good. There were a few spots that I wanted to see if I could fix with some sandpaper to smooth them out, but mostly I did a good job. Now came the hard part. The Iron Man figure that I did last time was pretty simple. The armor plates that needed painting were large and easy to paint around. This Hulkbuster had dozens upon dozens of places that needed both gold and silver paint applied. It was going to be a longer process. I used these Testors model enamel paints that I got at Hobby Lobby. I've heard a lot of people say that you shouldn't use enamel because it takes too long to dry. They say acrylic is the way to go and you always want to use that. I don't know, I haven't used it yet. Again, research other people's processes and decide what's the best. Just like last time, I found the simple yet creative task of hand painting details onto a little plastic sculpture to be oddly soothing and relaxing, as well as enjoyable and satisfying. It took me several sessions that lasted as much as an hour apiece to get all the details painted. I went to the Hot Toys website and used the pictures of their version of the Hulkbuster as my reference for what should be gold, what should be silver, and what should remain red. That was really handy. They were by far the best pictures out there. I couldn't get much of a good look from any still that came from the movie. Here's a funny thing that I never thought I'd hear. My wife told me that of all the various hobbies I've tried over the years, this is the one that she appreciates the most. She, who would probably be happy to hear that I was going to sell off every last piece in my toy collection, was actually excited to see the developments as my project progressed. She would even give me a hard time if I took too much time off and didn't have any progress to show her. I found it surprising, though I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because it's pretty similar to one of her favorite hobbies, which is home remodeling and redecorating. She loves to take a room and repaint and readjust it until it looks way better than it did before. And I take a child's toy and try to do the same. We're like two peas in a pod, same but different. So after hand painting, here's what Hulkbuster was looking like. I was just about done with this portion of the project. I did have a few screw-ups that I needed to touch up, like this spot on the leg where the silver got slopped over a little, and this spot on the arm where I touched it before it was dry, and this spot under the chin where I slopped some silver while trying to paint the neck, and this spot on the shoulder where I wasn't even in the neighborhood of where I should have been. I fixed those, and then the last bit of hand painting that was necessary was the hips. The figure doesn't have much in the way of the hip joint, but I still wanted it to be silver like it was in the Cosplay Chris video. So I blame it all on you, Cosplay Chris. Late one night, after I got home from work, I got out my bottle of silver paint to fill in that last thing. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing my level best to paint that hard-to-reach area silver without slopping paint over onto any of the red around it, when I brushed my hand across the paint bottle and it toppled off onto the floor. Now you might think, oh no, it's gonna shatter and get paint everywhere. That would have probably been the best case scenario. These bottles of model paints are really, really small. You'd probably need to secure it in a vise and smash it with a hammer to break this thing. Instead, it hit the tile and then it bounced and it bounced again and it bounced again and it bounced again and again and again and again and again and again until it finally came to rest, all that potential energy spent. With each bounce, the bottle flung more and more of its contents across the floor. The good thing is that I found a really efficient way to make rip-off Jackson Pollock paintings. The bad thing was that I had a gigantic mess to clean up. My wife had never expressed any desire to remodel our kitchen to look like a metallic Jackson Pollock painting. Luckily for me, she was already asleep and would remain blissfully unaware that this disaster had occurred. She would have completely lost her mind over a mess like this. This paint was enamel, not acrylic, so it didn't just come off with a little water and a rag, however. I had to get out my bottle of mineral spirits to get it to wipe up. Oh yes, let me suggest that if you use enamel paints for your metallic details in your projects, that you make sure to have mineral spirits on hand. You never know when you'll need them. It took quite a lot of paper towels and mineral spirits to get all of the paint off the floor. And my leg. My shoes and shorts were not going to come clean, but luckily they didn't get spattered too bad. I thought I was all done cleaning up and could put everything away and go to bed, but when I brushed my teeth, I saw this in the bathroom mirror. No idea how this streak of silver made its way all the way to my face, but I was going to need some more mineral spirits to get that off. Alright, now that that was taken care of, all of the detail painting was done. The only thing left to do now was the weathering. I was planning on 2 steps worth of weathering. First of all, there was the shoe polish technique. You get some of the liquid shoe polish from the store and brush it all over your figure. Then you go back in and wipe the excess away with a paper towel, or a scouring sponge if it is dried to the point that the paper towel won't cut it anymore. This process fills in all those cracks and crevices in the figure's sculpt. It takes all those details and shades them to make them really pop. Here's the results. Sorry, I couldn't manage to get my shadow out of the pictures, so they kind of suck, but you get the idea. Now the figure looks weathered. It makes it look a little more real, a little more alive. This is definitely not the Hulkbuster suit's maiden voyage. So that looks pretty great. And to finish off the weathering process, I wanted to do some dry brushing of silver to give it that look of worn metal and battle damage. Like the paint that covered those metal plates got ground off as Hulk bashed them with rocks or something. You make that happen by getting some paint on your brush, then wiping as much of it as possible back off. Then you find those edges of the armor where that kind of wear and tear might show up and brush it on. Since there's so little paint on the brush, it will give you that great look of being scraped and battered. When I was done, I took these pictures so you could see really well what I mean. The figure definitely looks like it's taken a beating. Tony Stark and Bruce Banner must just get together and spar in this suit all the time, because this is the result of more than just one fight. But most of all, this looks badass. Lastly, I sealed all of that work under a coat of clear gloss. It's the same one with the bonds to plastic banner from Rust-Oleum. With any Iron Man suit, I think this step is pretty important. For one, it keeps your work from being rubbed off just through the regular process of handling the figure. But on top of that, using the gloss top coat, it makes that plain cherry red paint turn into a shiny candy red instead. It gives you that shine that an Iron Man suit requires. Okay, let's do a final product reveal montage, shall we? Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for the great music. You, sir, are a creator's best friend. So, there you go, the finished product. I'm even more happy with the way this one turned out than I was with my Iron Man project. That's probably because I have some kind of weird obsession with the Hulkbuster that I don't have with the regular Iron Man. But all the same, I think this project turned out great. That's probably my final dress rehearsal. Now it's time to go after that huge Titan Heroes Hulkbuster armor suit that my 7-year-old has. We're going to make that beauty shine as brightly as the one Cosplay Chris did in that first video that sent me down this pathway in the first place. Watch for it in an upcoming video. But for now, this video is over. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a like. If you're not subscribed, you really ought to do so, because you don't want to miss the next chapter in the Pinterest saga. Also, check out my podcast. It's totally free. It's called the Dunesteef Audio Fiction Magazine. My co-host Rish Outfield and I bring you audio short stories that you can listen to just like audiobooks. There's hundreds of episodes and it's all free. Also, you could check out our second podcast called Dunesteef, That Gets My Goat. That's much more of a freewheeling show. Rish Outfield and I review movies and books and TV shows and more. And sometimes we just gripe about things that got our goat that week. Links for both shows are in the description. Lastly, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from the viewers. What did you think of this project? Are you motivated to try something of your own? Or are you already an expert at this whole thing and are laughing the entire time at my incompetence? Do you have any questions about the process and want clarification on what I did or anything like that? Ask away, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.